Monsters, Inc. It's a classic early days Pixar movie. But what about the video game? Well, it's an interesting one. It's got a very underwhelming Metascore, a brutal rating from IGN, but a fairly solid audience score. I didn't quite know what to expect before I played the game. And now that I have, there is a lot to love, but how much you're able to love it will depend on how tolerant you are to absolute bullshit. Because this game has a lot of it. No need for any more build-up. This is Monsters, Inc. on the PS2.
Well, get on with it, motherfucker.
We open with Sully being introduced to this guy, Thaddeus. He's new here, it's his first day on the job, and he's a useless piece of shit who somehow already lost his manual in the locker room. The game proceeds to dump us with way too much gameplay information. To be honest, the moment it ended, I realized I hadn't retained a single piece of it.
Oh, this is all confusing. Why do I have to keep learning new things?
And now we play as Sully to go out and fetch the new guy's missing stuff. After familiarizing myself with Sully's controls and accidentally catching a ride on a forklift, we arrive at the most confusingly large maze-like locker room locating the manual. Next, we gotta do some exploring to find a way to Waternoose's office to retrieve his keycard. Now would be a good time to mention how Sully feels to control, which is not great. His jumping is weightless, floaty, and imprecise, along with his directional controls. While this isn't a huge problem in these low-stakes starting areas, well, we'll get to that later. When we first arrive in Waternoose's office, I didn't realize we aren't allowed here, so I walked straight up to him and got caught instantly. We have to open the door to Waternoose's secret storage room to lure him out of his office, sneaking in and retrieving the card. Does Sully not find it slightly unnerving that Waternoose has all of these pictures of him in different poses? I guess he's just a very big fan, and considering one of Waternoose's famous quotes,
"I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die,"
I really don't want to know what's in his secret storage room. After this, the game shows us 30 seconds of the movie to introduce Boo. Sully does what sounds like a Peter Griffin impression to explain,
Mike, I hate to tell you this, but I lost a kid in the mailroom.
Now we're climbing up through the mailroom machinery and conveyor belts to retrieve Boo. Honestly, this is pretty cool and fun. The environment has a lot of moving parts and charm. It's well designed, finding new ways for us to get up higher and higher off the ground. And while Sully's controls aren't tight, leading to a couple of falls back down to the ground level, overall it doesn't demand anything that requires too much precision. On the ground floor, these guys are running about, and if you get caught by them, you'll be brutally punished by being sent back to the previous checkpoint. I don't know if the real reason they're here is so if you do fall to the ground, you can just cheat and intentionally get caught to spawn back up where you were, but that's how I used them. After exploring through some other parts of the mailroom factory, trying to find a way to progress further, I found this corridor and
I don't know what. I mean, this is a bit of a.
While trying to figure out what to do next, the train started moving. We jumped between the two trains to avoid obstacles while staying on top of the carts. While I am now an adult who has experienced enough of the world to not be particularly excited by this, I can imagine as a kid it would be quite a thrill to play as Sully, jumping atop the moving mailroom roller coaster-like carriages. After this, we locate Boo and the level is over.
A few moments later.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, Mikey, but I've lost the kid again.
He's not even pretending to give the slightest bit of a and honestly, I kind of respect it. We do some more gameplay similar to the mailroom, except now the first real problems arise. Because this is when the game starts to demand a bit more precision in the platforming than these controls are cut out for. It is here that the frustration starts to build. Whether it's the difficulty that feels more like a result of poor controls combined with intentionally tedious level design, or just the inconsistencies in how we get around. For example, Sully can usually grab onto edges and pull himself up, except sometimes he just can't, and we have to realize that there's a box nearby that we need to push to jump on first to get up. If you want to force me to push a box to reach a high place, actually make it a high place.
What's the point.
Despite these frustrations, there's still some fun charm in this area, like these blowing vents that we activate with raw switches to send us flying across the city skyline. Sully, Mike, and Boo manage to find themselves in a hotel room, and it's in this hotel that we collect the pieces of Boo's monster costume disguise. There's an elevator we use to travel between the 3 floors, and it's pretty fun discovering what each of these has to offer along the way.
Is looking at you, kid.
Is that a Casablanca reference in the Monsters, Inc. PS2 game? I can't imagine the middle of the Venn diagram between these two audiences would be huge, but hey, I guess you can stick me in there, so there's at least one. Along the way, we can talk to monsters. They never seem to have anything valuable to say, but it is kind of funny how passive-aggressively Sully shuts down whatever conversation they're trying to start.
I don't think that old building's gonna be around much longer.
You know, it's nice to talk with you. Bye.
The hotel basement features this grid of washing machines in a pool of water. If someone could explain to me what the that's all about, that would be appreciated. Above the elevator, we need to cross this room with bouncy jump pads. Every time Sully falls and hits the ground, it makes this out-of-place splat noise. As you can imagine, the bounce pads, moving parts, and loose controls meant I heard this noise a lot. Boo runs off into this dark-looking factory, and the next chunk of game is really f***ing confusing. This place is a large mess with multiple pathways, and whenever we fall down to the ground floor, we gotta find our way back up. It's filled with factory worker monsters who just so happen to look exactly like Boo's new disguise. So every time we approach one, there's the slight hope that this insanity-inducing level will be over, only to have that hope ripped away. By the time I finally stumbled upon the real Boo, my brain was so melted from navigating this nightmarish location that I almost couldn't process that the level was actually over.
I'm free.
Next, we're exiled to the Arctic, and this is probably the best part of the game. The platforming is back to being basic enough to not cause problems with the controls, the snowy aesthetic is refreshing, but the real winner here is this Cuphead vibes soundtrack that really captures the Monsters, Inc. energy. I was having a pretty good time in the Arctic until this bridge. It brought me right back down to earth, reminding me just how big a problem the controls really are. After way too many deaths, I finally made it to the other side, only for the game to stop and do this, respawning me at the previous checkpoint as if I died. So I did it again, and it did the same thing. I still don't really have any idea what exactly the game was going for here, but every time I reached the other side of the bridge, it would stop Sully and drop snowballs on him, acting like that's somehow my fault. Eventually, I jumped across the railing of the bridge, and this didn't happen. So I guess the game doesn't want us to go in this zone to cross the bridge, and if we do, it just forces a death. I don't know, it's very unclear, but we made it across and finally progressed to the doors level. This is what I was most interested to see in the game, because it really is an environment that feels like it lends itself to platforming gameplay. And you know what? It's fine. It's just fine. It's more of the same, except it's in the room with all of the doors. Of course, you already know there was a lot of falling to our death because Sully controls like a f***ing balloon. At one stage, the game cut to a shot of Randall carrying Boo through a door, but when it cut back to Sully, he was falling to his death. The game didn't seem to register this though, so he just kept falling and falling. This isn't meant to be happening, is it? So I had to restart the whole level and play through it again, and you can imagine my annoyance when I reached that shot of Randall, only to discover it couldn't have been any closer to the end, as all that follows is you walk across this platform and the level is complete.
What a sick joke!
To wrap it all up, we have a boss battle against Water Noose. Sadly, this is barely a boss battle, as it just involves doing more of the same to activate more of these switches until eventually whatever this thing is turns off. Sully started saying something, but the game wouldn't let him.
Woo, great! This has been like a...
I didn't press a button or skip or anything, that's just how the game ends, I guess. Congratulations. Poor Mike, to be honest, he just got completely shafted. This game should just be called Sully the way it plays out.
I'm done! You hear me?